Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to our next innovation session where we're going to focus on cybersecurity. I hope everyone's having a great Zenith Live so far, and you've had some really good breakout sessions along the way. And just like earlier, we're going to talk a little bit about things we have available today, but we're also going to be talking about some things that are in the future, so I have to show our safe harbor slide. So to set up how we think about security here, you have to keep in mind that security has to be right all the time. You can't just sometimes block the threats and expect that to be okay. And at Zscaler, we take that very, very seriously and have a full set of layered defenses to make sure that we keep our customers as safe as possible. It starts with blocking based on known bad destinations. That gets a lot of things, and to be honest, that's where a lot of the competition spends all their time and focuses on, and don't go deeper than that. But at Zscaler, we go further and we make sure with full SSL inspection at scale, we're running all of the content through all of our engines, our AV, our advanced threat protection, our cloud firewall, IPS, even our AI, ML-based detections that we've been working on to make sure that we block everything that's known bad, and even use a sandbox for detonating unknown files to see how they behave, and if they do anything bad, we make sure and block that, and use that cloud effect to make sure we're also protecting the rest of the cloud. First one that finds it in there, everybody gets protected, and all the way back up the chain, you get that protection. That URL's marked bad, the IPS signature might get updated, et cetera. So all that works together to keep you safe. And then that last line is on the content delivery method, where you can use browser isolation, where anytime the risk is elevated, you can make sure and only deliver pixels and not deliver that content. So over the last year, we've been busy making improvements along all of those different areas. We've delivered a few hundred features across our platform, and we're not stopping there. The rest of this session is going to focus on the cool new stuff and make a few new announcements on interesting things that we're bringing to market. But before we get to that, I'm going to introduce our next guest, who's going to go through some behind-the-scenes work that we do to keep our customers safe around kind of deconstructing some of those new and emerging threats. And with that, I want to welcome to stage our Chief Information Security Officer, Deepan Desai.
Thank you, Steve. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully, everyone's out of the afternoon food coma. I can see that a lot of the people fell for it. But we have a lot of cool innovations that we'll be talking about as part of this session. So let me get right into it. We have a global team of security experts called ThreatLabz that has access to 500 trillion daily signals. And the reason I'm mentioning this is the team leverages these signals to track threat landscape, discover targeted attacks, and derive unique insights. We have tactically aligned the team across 4 critical stages of the attack chain, and the goal over here is to have the right expertise in place at the right level, so we're able to break that chain at multiple stages. Now, some of the intelligence and tracking coverage work that the team does behind the scenes, I'll show you a couple case studies on that. But besides tracking and coverage activity, the team also builds new detection prototype models that gets productized as we see newer tactics being used by the bad guys. The team also is responsible for providing security services. So we have many of the customers leveraging ThreatLabz as part of their SOC team to kind of perform hunting activity, discover new stuff, and then work closely to improve the overall security posture. So let me get right into the first case study. This is where the team detected and Zscaler Zero Trust Exchange basically protected thousands of global organizations against a brand new zero-day vulnerability that was impacting almost all Windows operating system. This is where Cloud Sandbox flagged an in-the-wild exploitation attempt. The goal for the adversary over here was to exploit this zero-day, establish persistence inside the environment, and then do more damage. ThreatLabz team quickly analyzed the payload and confirmed that this was a zero-day. We got in touch with Microsoft. Microsoft was pretty quick in their response. They included a security update as part of their upcoming monthly security update itself. Now, the point I'm trying to make with this case study is the time between the zero-day getting discovered, the patch becoming available, and the patch actually being applied varies across various organizations. And this is what represents a significant window of opportunity that these bad guys capitalize on, and then they weaponize payloads and get inside your environment. In this case, and in many other cases, Zscaler customers are proactively protected using our sandbox, using our inline inspection, using the work that the team does behind the scene. And you can learn more about discoveries such as the one that I mentioned and many more by going to research.zscaler.com. This is where we will call out all of these new things, new findings. One number that I'll share on this front, as part of our zero-day initiative, we've discovered and reported more than 100 new zero-day vulnerabilities. And I'm only talking about the major vendors like Microsoft, Adobe, Apple, and there are CVs assigned to that. So for the next case study, we'll look at Dark Angels, a ransomware group. So Dark Angels, those of you that don't know, it's one of the most prolific ransomware group out there that has been fairly successful. And they target technology industry vertical, education, healthcare, and finance. And they've been very successful in terms of getting inside the environment and also getting large ransom payments. So ThreatLabz team has been tracking them very closely. And what we'll do is we'll go through a real example from this year where they managed to get inside a large publicly traded company's environment. They successfully breached it, and then they also got the ransom paid out to them. So let's go through the step-by-step attack chain. So in this case, threat actors sent out emails to multiple employees belonging to this organization. One of the users fell for the attack. This resulted in exploitation and installation of stage 1 payload on the endpoint. Now this endpoint, the compromised endpoint, was connected to a legacy flat network using VPN. What the threat actor did next is they started running the recon tools. They discovered a juicy flat attack surface, right? A flat network where they hit Active Directory. They also saw all the assets inside the environment. They discovered crown jewel applications, and they also had visibility into all the machines that were connected remotely over the VPN. Once they are done with this lateral propagation privilege escalation stage, they will then establish persistence by installing the stage 1 backdoor payload on all of these discovered assets. Now, this is followed by data exfiltration. In this case, we're talking about more than 20 terabytes of data being stolen from this organization's environment. And they leveraged 7-zip compressed archive, which was being sent over TLS to Megasync, which is a cloud SaaS-based service. And yeah, I mean, it was 24 terabytes of data that got stolen by these guys over here. Once the data exfiltration was done, on a Friday evening, they deployed ransomware payload using the stage 1 backdoor. First, it hits your domain controller, Active Directory. Then it navigates to all the on-prem assets. And in this case, we also saw them pushing the payload to remotely connected endpoints, encrypting the files even on those assets that were connected over VPN. This is where Dark Angels group will show the ransom node. They demanded ransom. The organization in this case chose to pay ransom. So let me ask a question to the audience. Right? Hopefully none of you guys have seen this, and I don't expect you guys to read this, but this is a real report written by Dark Angels ransomware group for a victim after they chose to pay the ransom. And this actually outlines step by step how did they get inside the victim's environment, and they're kind of giving them advice on what they need to do in order to prevent that attack from happening. If I were to zoom in, It starts with discovering the attack surface. In this case, they leverage VPN to get inside the environment. They will move laterally. This is where they scan large IP subnets. So they actually call out the ranges that were scanned in the environment to learn about the overall structure. And then finally, they exfil large volume of data. And they even rub it in by saying your network speed was very, very good. It allowed us to exfil 300 gigs per day. So we call this ransomware pen testing report, and unfortunately, victim paid $5.5 million for this report. So look, we all know about the problem, and we know this is one of the top priorities for most global CISOs. So here is how I would encourage you all to look at it when you're planning holistic ransomware defense. We saw ransomware threat actors also using those 4 stages of the attack, so I'll use that as a reference. They will find you, they will attack you, they will compromise you. This is where Zscaler helps you hide that attack surface. With full inline TLS inspection, you're able to prevent that initial payload from getting in. They will move laterally as part of the next stage. This is where Zscaler's user-to-app segmentation, app protection, and deception technologies allows you to reduce that blast radius to the user that actually made the mistake. And then finally, thereafter, your data. Just like we saw, they're exfilling large volume of data. This is where DLP with contextual control, AI/ML-based data classification allows you to set those granular policy to prevent the data from leaking out. Now, one of the primary points that I'll make over here is, you probably have seen this slide before, you really need to have all of these technologies integrated as part of a single platform. If you invest in a bunch of point products that's solving part of the puzzle, by the time the third-party attack or even your team identifies an attack in progress, it's already too late, right? Because these things move very quick. In fact, one of the stats that I'll share, do you know how long it takes for ransomware to encrypt 100,000 files in your environment? It's less than 5 minutes, right? So that's how quickly they move. So by the time the correlation happens in the back end, you get the signal, the damage is already done. So to wrap, key takeaways from a CISO perspective, looking at the Dark Angels ransomware sequence, and my only key takeaway is ransomware pen test reports are expensive. Okay, bad joke. All right. So real key takeaways. Number one is you really need to eliminate VPN. And by this, I mean you need to look at both on-prem as well as the in-cloud version of VPN, because by architecture, it provides a juicy attack surface that these threat actors continue to leverage in order to conduct successful attacks. Number two, and I'm kind of repeating this, prioritize user-to-app segmentation. Don't get into the overly complicated world of, hey, I need to get micro-segmentation done. Start simple, user-to-app segmentation. This is where you will be able to reduce that blast radius and contain the attack to a single incident. And then finally, having that inline DLP with full TLS inspection will allow you to prevent large volume of data egressing your environment. A simple file type-based contextual control in your DLP policy will prevent the data from leaking out, like we saw in case of Dark Angel's ransomware attack.